Welcome to another Sunday WOAY ABC4 Community Forum, where we talk to community leaders and local success stories to discuss important information that affects all of us here in Southern West Virginia. I'm your host, Brandy Lawrence, and today we're joined by two distinguished guests. Amanda Hammonds and Dr. Danae Johnson from the Beckley Day Center join us this morning to talk to us about the Beckley Day Center. So thank you guys for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I've already introduced you guys, but can you tell the people out there what the Beckley Day Center does and what you all do with the Beckley Day Center?
I currently serve as chair for the Beckley Day Center. We have a board of directors, which Danae Johnson is on now. The Beckley Day Center is a free nonprofit local organization that serves poverty, mental health, and recovery. We originally started because there were many individuals in Uptown Beckley that didn't have a place to sit throughout the day, didn't have a place to go, didn't know how to get to some of the resources that they needed. In Raleigh County, resources are spread about, in different places on other sides of the county, and the organization was formulated so that local entities could serve through the center and get resources to individuals that may not have the transportation or the know-how to find them.
That's wonderful and a super important resource for people to have. I think a lot of people don't realize how big Raleigh County actually is. So how did the Beckley Day Center get started?
Well, we actually formed our board in June of 24. So there a lot of planning went into it. We were partnered with Dillard Lawson from the Carpenter's Corner at that time. And I would come there and serve individuals and additional resources besides the food that they were getting at that time. And I saw that there was a great need. Individuals didn't know what was where, when they needed it, and how to find it. And it was just really a series of answering questions on what organizations had what resource and how they could access it. And it became larger than that because people would then start coming there to look for me. And they would look for James Bird as well. He started his own nonprofit with Housed Up, which serves poverty now. And during that time, individuals were excited about all the information that we had. And it was really just a second nature to us. So the central location of the Beckley Day Center became formed once we organized with Robert Dunlap, which has assisted many nonprofits in Raleigh County, and he allowed for us to have the space in kind through facilities. You build it, they'll come, So since forming the board in June, we opened December 1st, 24. We've now served over 300 people in resource connection through the Beckley Day Center. So I can say blatantly that the need was there.
Absolutely,
yes.
Yep.
We've been grateful enough to grow our board with individuals that serve and support the cause as well. Mm-hmm. Danae has her own interest in the individuals that we serve in Raleigh County.
I do. So, I've worked in the field of working with victims of crime and vulnerable populations for 25 plus years. I have my own personal reasons for wanting to be a part of the Beckley Day Center. And as soon as I realized that they were a resource available, I wanted to be a part of it. And I felt like I had some experience that I could offer. And it's been a wonderful relationship. Raleigh County is new to me, and I know that they do have a large population of individuals that need resources and assistance, and sometimes these people just don't know where to go. And now that the Beckley Day Center is available, the word's starting to get out, and over 300 in less than a year. That's amazing. Those are numbers that show that this is in fact a need. It is filling a gap that Raleigh County has had for a very long time. And not just that, my field has always been working with children for the most part, and I can definitely see the intersection between childhood trauma and the negative lifelong outcomes, which a lot of the individuals that are seeking services through the Beckley Day Center have experienced in their past. But it's hard for us as community members to really embrace that and understand it. And a lot of times these individuals get pushed away, or they're not taken seriously, or even worse, crime happens to them, yet they get stigmatized for the people that are actually committing the crimes. And so I wanted to be a part of the solution and not the problem, and really get people to understand that there is a correlation between childhood trauma and adversities as they're growing up, and then they end up in situations where they need the Beckley Day Center to help them.
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely.
I want to touch on that if I can.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
the individuals that we serve, I get to know them on a personal basis. You know, we know their names, all of our volunteers do. Board members come in contact with them. They receive mail there. They fill out applications. They ask us questions. But it takes a couple impacts. You know, they're there 2 or 3 times before they'll look you in the eyes and they'll realize that you're there to help them and not judge them. And I will say, on my own personal opinion, that these are just grown-up children.
Mm-hmm.
These are children that have not been accessed into community because they were in rural communities, or didn't have access to it for other reasons, that work trade jobs, that don't have a lot of education on how to get back into the system, and are honestly a bit afraid on how to reintegrate into the community. And because of the compassion that they're shown at the Beckley Day Center and the welcoming environment that we have in our sanctuary, they then begin to ask for help and ask for resources. And many of them will tell you stories of their childhood or what happened to them to get them here. And to me, that's a clear identification that they haven't been able to do that somewhere else.
Exactly.
And they're finally finding a place where they can, and they can get what they need. We've had so many people return to stability because of that. Just feeling like they're just not walking in some, and forgive me, but government building, some large lit individual place without knowing what questions to ask. They can just say, this is my problem. And then we say, well, these are the solutions. These are the resources. It's been really beneficial to see that experience for myself, because I'm a person that comes from that same type of environment.
Definitely, and that's really wonderful, and I love that you all brought up stigma as well, and a lot of the assumptions that people make about people that are having a hard time, because it's not always that, and sometimes that stigma and that mistreatment, sometimes from the public that don't understand what it is that you're going through, can kind of put you in that place where you're like, well, you feel bad about yourself and you don't want to reach out to help. They don't want to look you in the eye and actually receive help from you. So it's wonderful what you all are doing and really trying to reach out to people and meet them where they are and say, hey, I really care about you and I want to help.
Yeah, and just to add to that, when you're working in the field of childhood trauma, right? Everybody wants to jump on that. Everybody wants to help the kids, which I appreciate. But at the same time, as soon as they turn 18 and they're viewed as an adult, all of a sudden their safety net's gone. They're stigmatized. They're viewed as a menace. They're viewed as someone who drains resources, and it shouldn't be that way. It should be that there's a continuum of care. And that's one of the reasons why I really, I'm very vested in the Beckley Day Center, because not only does it allow for those individuals who grow up, they become adults, and they need that extra help because maybe they didn't have it when they were kids. It's trauma informed. It's using individuals that have lived experience to help teach and to help people understand that they're just like you and I. There really is no difference other than you and I might have had the support that they needed back then and they didn't. And so trying to get them the support that they need now is just crucial.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It is. I have to say some facts here. So the International Institute states that 53% of people that have experienced homelessness for a year have PTSD symptoms. So that's a lot, I think, of what we see maybe when we see a person outside that looks maybe wayward, disconnected, maybe we don't know where they're going, they don't know where they're going. They're experiencing a trauma response. So that's what's happening. That's why there's low eye contact. That's why they're, walking away from public. That's why they're standing away from, the public. That's why they're not going in stores. That's why they're not potentially walking into the DHHR and asking for help, because that's a uncomfortable experience for someone that really just can't even make eye contact because of what they're going through, and when they come there to the day center, I often hear people talk about how They just tried to find a place to sit down last night and their bag was stolen. You know, and then that's their identification. And once they lose their ID, reintegrating into society and finding some place in stability, which we so much want for them to have, which I believe any person that talks about unhoused, their first thought is, well, you know, find employment. You know, find employment, and then you'll find housing, and then you'll find stability. But the barriers to that are compounded by, you know, what they're experiencing mentally and emotionally, and then all of those things that they go through just to find safety for a single night. So when they come to the day center, we try to offer them the opportunity to keep their things safe. We can store important items for them, and we can give them a place to sit down and feel safe for a few. You know, and then when they start asking those questions about what the next thing to do is, it's the level of care. When we're in trauma and we're experiencing a response that makes our system unlikely to ask questions or to even feel safe enough to make eye contact, we're certainly not going to try to figure out how to fill out an application. It's a very difficult process, but like I said, it's 2 to 3 impacts that we're seeing. I mean, honestly, the sanctuary. I had a lady the other day tell me that it felt like she was sitting on her mom's couch again, and to me, that changed it all for me.
And not just that, they offer showers as well, and something as simple as a shower to you and I who have advantage of taking a shower every morning or every night or whenever we want to, they don't, you know. And so giving them back a sense of humanity, just to clean up and to feel refreshed, it means a lot to them, you know. And that's one of the things that the Beckley Day Center offers is the amenities that you and I might not see as anything other than expected, right? We have the sense of, well, we expect to take a shower, and we offer it to them, and then they're able to just feel normal, at least for that 1 minute in time, to have that sense of normalcy again.
I've been looking at that actually. So we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 3, and then coming in the winter in November, we'll be open at 7 a.m. 5 days, just to try to offer them a rollover in the cold weather. But on Mondays, we've got a lot of relaxation, people just kind of sitting around for a moment talking to one another. You'll see them, you know, interacting on a low scale. But on Wednesdays, when we have our showers, it's almost like we're in an arcade room. You know, everybody's joking with each other. They're asking each other how their day was. They're chit-chatting with one another. With that population, that's not that common, because out there you have to be 100% concerned about yourself and what's the next thing that you're going to be able to do to get somewhere safe for the evening. But they have safety there. When they take a shower and they feel human again for a moment, they're interacting like nothing's wrong for just those couple of hours. And it's really a beautiful experience to see that. I never knew what kind of difference it could make. There's quite a few studies on that now. If we'll look into the WASH program, there's a lot of statistics showing what a shower can do for mental health, how much it can change a person's motivation and ability to interact, and of course become productive in society. We don't think about that, you know. I would love to motivate everybody out there to just not take a shower for 3 days, not charge your phone, and then go to work and see how much you can get accomplished. Because it's something that I myself practiced just to see what it felt like, and it changes your whole mental state. My amount of motivation to get something accomplished that day was hard.
Yeah. In addition to that, always having to be on, right? Your sense of security is always having to be on, and making sure that no harm is being done to you or to your property, because that's all you have left.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much. That wraps up our first half of Community Forum, but you guys stay tuned. We'll be right back talking more about the Beckley Day Center, all the resources they offer, and how you can help them. Welcome back to Sunday Community Forum. I'm here with Amanda Hammonds and Dr. Danae Johnson from the Beckley Day Center, and we're talking about everything that the Day Center does. And we're going to get into, are there any requirements to access for the Beckley Day Center for the people out there that may need help?
There are not. It took a little while, I think, for people to realize that we're only open Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 3. We do that because we're completely in kind, and we just have dedicated volunteers that are able to access the Day Center. I will say that we do have a code of conduct that we, expect everyone to respect the environment when they're there, with their voice and their tone. And I haven't had but a few issues being open this long because it seems like they want to protect it like it's a place that they want to protect.
Right.
So I don't run into that a whole lot. A person does have to be 18 in order to enter. So that's one requirement that we have, but besides that, everybody's welcome.
Awesome. That's good to know. So I always like to ask, it's community forum, so I always like to ask how the community can get involved. So are you all in need of any donations or any additional volunteers or things like that?
So the Beckley Day Center, like Amanda was saying, is we're all volunteer-based. The board of directors is volunteers, as well as those that staff the actual facility itself. It's all volunteer-based. And that also means that all of the resources that we provide are brought in through either community services or through donations from the community. We have been very blessed in getting a plethora of clothing items. So as of right now, we don't necessarily need clothing items because we have a very large closet that is stocked full, and that's very amazing. That's awesome. But we do still need items that keep the center running. We need things as simple as like coffee and filters, all the way down to personal items. Toiletry items is really important. We do have the showers, so any of soaps and toothbrushes and things like that. Any items that you think that you would need throughout your daily life, those are the things that we would need to help sustain and support the people that come into the Beckley Day Center. And there's always opportunity for volunteering. We do participate in a lot of community activities. We have booths. We still have trainings that we offer in order to become a volunteer and man the Beckley Day Center while it's open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So you can participate in that and be trained and being a part of the team too. So there's a lot of different opportunities, anywhere from in-kind donations to your time and your service. Those are always accepted and welcome.
Absolutely. So make sure you guys get in touch with the Beckley Day Center if you would like to help, but do not send any more clothes because they don't need any more. I know that's always the first thing people like to send. And we actually did a story earlier that a lot of women's resource centers and like domestic violence centers, they do need clothes. So keep that in mind.
The other one thing, a caveat, so to speak, about that is the winter months are coming. And a lot of folks just don't have winter items. So things like jackets and scarves and gloves and socks, those things that keep you warm and comfortable, those are items that we could definitely use and we can distribute. But as far as other clothing items, probably not.
I used to organize what was called Spread the Warmth from November to February for the last 4 years. I would set up in the bike trail and just have warm soup provided by Carpenter's Corner, wonderful ministry, by the way, and warm gloves and hats and jackets, and that has kind of dissolved into the Beckley Day Center. So people do come there for those warming items now.
Wonderful. Well, an amendment to that, send coats and send socks. I do hear that socks are under, utilized donation. So
yes.
Yeah.
So awesome. So make sure you get in touch with them about that as well. So I know for you, especially Amanda, kind of leading the charge on this and being in for a year, well, almost a year now. What does the Beckley Day Center mean to you?
Beckley Day Center is a gap filler. I will just say I have always kind of been the person, I blame I Spy growing up, but I see gaps. I see missing pieces, and I've always been the kind of person that if there's a need, I would love to find a way to take what we already have and utilize that in a way to serve that need. Just kind of put the pieces together. And that's what it means to me. It means that there is something that is missing for a large population of people, 300 so far, that are getting what they need, and that to me is it's humanity. You know, that's a life-saving resource, and I'm not talking about the difference between a life and death. I'm talking about the difference between feeling like you have a life and feeling like you don't, because that's a very sad factor that does happen with that population. You know, I can flatten a tire and feel like everything's over for days. I can't imagine what it's like to not have on clean socks and not know where to sit down and be freezing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a wonderful answer as well. And for you also, Danae, I know that you also work with Just for Kids Advocacy. What does this mean for you to also like give your time to the Beckley Day Center?
So I saw something probably online, who knows, as you're randomly scrolling through things that said humankind be both, right? And that resonated with me very much because I'd like to think that I'm a kind individual, but I would hope that others would be too. And like I said earlier, working with vulnerable children, they grow up, they become adults, and I don't want the ball to drop. I want to see people who have experienced trauma to heal and to grow and to be accepted into the community. And the Beckley Day Center does fill that gap in my mind. And for me to be a part of it, it fills a need within me for my own personal reasons as far as like why the Beckley Day Center is so important personally, but it also fills a need for me as I see our community healing. It's about healing, it's about being kind and generous to each other, and offering support to each other. And when you're able to get a group of individuals that volunteer their time, blood, sweat, tears, I've seen Amanda like do some amazing things, you know, at all hours of the day and night, to give back to the community and to make sure that someone other than herself is taken care of. It's selflessness, and it just means a lot. It means that they're learning from us as well on how to give back to the community, because I know I've seen other people who have gone through the Beckley Day Center participate in community events and giving back to their community because they feel as though that's what they're supposed to do, and I love that. It's very heartwarming to me. So it does mean a lot.
That's wonderful. And I read a book like years ago, Palaces for the People, where they talk about how that sense of community and that just helping each other out, it keeps people alive. It does a lot for people. Like there was a blackout in Chicago, more elderly people died in one city than another city because one was more tight-knit. They were more of a community where they went and they checked on the elderly, they went and they checked on the vulnerable people and made sure that they were okay, and that saved lives.
Right.
So thank you guys for everything that you're doing. And I can only imagine how many lives have been saved just because of these resources that you all are providing. So for local organizations and things like that, is there any way that they can help you guys out? Sponsorships or any other thing that they could do for you?
Yes, we'd very much appreciate sponsorships. That's a lot of the reason why we have been sustained for so long. Because we serve under poverty, mental health, and recovery, and I want to say, God willing, we're coming through the opioid epidemic. We have a lot of organizations that support that because these individuals, which was shown through the DHHR PIT study, that they use substances as a secondary to deal with the circumstances in which they live. So these individuals are in fact experiencing recovery when they come into the Beckley Day Center, because that's a day that they don't have to use to stay alive. And you know, poverty of course is a large part of that, and mental health we've already mentioned. So any organization that supports those causes and sees the population that we're serving, we would appreciate continued support. We also have a rotating schedule where organizations that cannot get their resources to that population because of where they're housed and lack of transportation in Raleigh County can serve through the Beckley Day Center to offer what they already have to that population.
That's wonderful, wonderful. So if you're an organization that wants to get involved with the Beckley Day Center and, you know, help make the community a better place and, you know, just serve your community, make sure that you get in touch with them. And would they need to give you a call?
Yeah, we have a phone number. We have a website, actually, BeckleyDayCenter.org. We have a Facebook, Beckley Day Center, and we use our Gmail, BeckleyDayCenter@gmail.com. and 304-222-9837.
Awesome. And is there anything else that you feel that the viewers should know about the Beckley Day Center and what you all do?
I think it's important to know that although we are a new nonprofit, none of our members are. The board that we have served in nonprofits and organizations for years. And this cause has been held by churches for generations that do not have community support. They have their individual ministry that have always served them. And many of them help us with much as they can because there is a large need. But I think it's important to know that our nonprofit is supported by organizations and people that have been doing this for years. The cause has always been there. We're hopefully by combining everything that we have with the resources and the individuals, we make an impact.
It sounds like you already are.
just to add to that, not only the board has experience with nonprofits. This is a grassroots nonprofit in the traditional sense of what grassroots nonprofits are. And they have proven that it's filling a gap. And so it's only a matter of time before other funders, other large funders recognize that this is an organization that meets a need, fills a very big gap, and they're competent and they have the capacity to get the services out there to the appropriate individuals and be a success story.
Absolutely. Well, this has been wonderful, and it's been wonderful. You gave us all this wonderful information about the Beckley Day Center. Thank you so much, Amanda and Danae, Dr. Danae, and thank you guys for joining us for Sunday Community Forum. Make sure you tune in next week where before we go, do you mind plugging that phone number one more time? Actually, that's not the right one. Do you mind plugging the yes, I need the Beckley Day Center, please, Tiny. Thank you. There it is. Awesome. And also visit BeckleyDayCenter.org for more information, or give them a call, or stop by on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. So once again, thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Dr. Danae, and thank you guys for joining us for Sunday Community Forum. Once again, be sure to tune in next Sunday, where we speak to more community leaders and local success stories to discuss important information affecting all of us here in Southern West Virginia. Have a happy Sunday, and we'll see you next week.